Asanteni sana. Thank you so much. All of you, we're seeing your comments as we start this session. Matthew from Embakasi Junction, thank you so much for logging in. We continue to have this session. Catherine Magua from Metropole, thank you so much for joining in this session. We're glad to have you in this year as well. Christus Mwasho from Watate, thank you very much for joining this session. We want to start, and I think we are starting immediately at exactly 11:05. Feel free to invite your friends and relatives so that we can all learn together. So I think we want to start immediately, and before we start, I want to invite Dennis Kisilu, who is our relationship manager at Business Banking Department, to start this session with a word of prayer. Over to you, Dennis.
Thank you, Peter, and good morning to our participants. Thank you for joining our webinar today. Let's pray. Dear God, we come before you today to give you thanks and glory for giving us this life today, Lord. We thank you for everything that you've guided us through, and we thank you for everything that you've provided for us, Lord. We don't take it for granted, Lord, that we get to do what we do each and every day. Lord, we pray for the webinar as we are learning today, Lord, and as we are hearing our speakers, Lord. We ask that you may guide them, you may give them wisdom, and we may understand what we are being taken through. We pray for the year 2022. We are saying this year will be a marvelous year through you, Lord. Guide us and be with us in our businesses, in our work. Lord, we pray for favor. We ask, Lord, that you may bless us, every one of us, Lord, and our families. We pray this believing and trusting in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Amen. Dennis, and thank you so much for taking us through the prayer. So welcome our customers. We are happy. Our today's topic on this webinar is on economic outlook for 2022. We want to get some insights on some of the things we need to look at in this particular year in matters economy, some of the sectors that we expect to do well in this year, and I'm sure our speakers for the day, they are ready and well equipped with information that is very key for us. So as we proceed, Anthony, we can proceed just to give us the agenda of the day, and we have Anthony, who is the bank economist, who will be sharing the insights, and we also have Moses Gitao, who is head of business banking. He'll be coming to tell us what are the bank commitment in terms of the support for the day, and after that we'll be having the question and answer session. As we proceed, is to say we will have this session taking 1.5 hours, so we will anticipate to end at 12:30 p.m. In terms of the ground rules, just to advise us that we have muted our microphones and our videos just to make sure that then we'll have a very seamless session. We also encourage us to participate. We have the chat box down there that we encourage all of us to use it to make comments, feedback, questions. We'll be addressing most of these questions, and even the Q&A session. We'll be having this responded as we proceed with this particular session. As we proceed, is just to say also, please feel free to give us your reactions. Feel free to answer the questions should there be questions that will be asked by the participant or the speakers. Above all, we also request you to enjoy this session because it's a great session that we want to all of us learn and benefit from the insights. As we proceed, we'll pause for just 1 minute just to encourage us to proceed. For those who joined and they have not shared their details on their names, where they are coming from and their webinar expectations, please feel free to proceed and share your comments on that. Share your name, where you're coming from, and what would be your expectations for the day. I can see a number of us have already gone ahead to share your details. Agnes from South Africa, all the way from South Africa. Thank you so much. Welcome. We have Sophia from Kangema branch. Thank you so much. We have Emmanuel from Eldoret. Thank you very much, team, for coming up in this particular session and being there and ready to learn. We have Dennis from Masai Mara in Narok. Asante sana for joining, and thank you so much for logging in good time. We have Robert from Embu. Thank you so much. We have Mutuma all the way from Isiolo. We look forward to learn together. Julius from Umoja. We have Boaz from Calbanet. Asanteni sana for joining. We can continue to chat and feel free. We have someone from Silas from UK. We have Justus from Machakos. We have a practicing accountant by the name Nahashon Maina logging in from Kiambu. Please proceed. And without further ado, I want to invite, before the training, I want to invite Moses, our head of business banking department, to start this session with some opening remarks. Over to you, Moses.
Thank you very much, Peter. Good morning and Happy New Year, dear customers. I take this opportunity on behalf of Cooperative Bank to welcome us all to the CoBank MSME 2022 series. We have a number of trainings that a number of webinars that you've lined up, and this is just the starting one. Just to say that this is part of our non-financial services offering as a bank, where we continue to engage our customers online. We have had a lot of engagements, I think, in the last 2 years since the advent of COVID. And we would want to continue equipping our customers with insights and information that help them in terms of surviving and also thrive the business, especially during this challenging time. I think it's no longer is the new normal, and we would want to continue equipping and supporting our customers in the journey. Over 50, in the last few years, we've done over 50 MSME webinars. We have been able to reach over 60,000 customers. We've covered diverse topics in several sectors. I think we started with education because immediately COVID came in, education was the highly impacted sector. We went through manufacturing, we went through construction, we went through health, we went through agrovets and agro dealers. We went through people who are doing import and export, the general traders. We went through the clearing and forwarding, several sectors that we've covered, reaching out over 60,000 MSMEs. We run this every Thursday, same time, and for 2022, we want to continue the same way, every Thursday, every Thursday, 11 a.m. to about 12:30. That's 1.5 hours on weekly basis. In the course of the year, last year, and even 2020, our customers gave us a lot of feedback in terms of the partnerships. And I think we partnered with a number of stakeholders and even opinion leaders in the industry. And this was as a result of the request that came through yourselves, our customers. And I would encourage that you continue also giving us that feedback in terms of those people that perhaps you would want to see, insights that you want, the kind of topics that you want us to share. We look for the experts in that area. If you don't have that expertise in the bank, we look for experts in that area to just help us empower you as our customers. This year, 2022, we have lined up a number of topics that are very informative. So I can only encourage you to continue joining every Thursday, just as I said, to help us in terms of building and also getting insights on how then you build your business. So I invite you to continue participating, customers. And specifically in today's webinar, just as Peter said, we have a very good insights coming from the bank economists who will be introducing shortly. And we want to look at the economic outlook for the year 2022. And specifically for the MSME sectors, the MSME sector, the customers that, the businesses that operate there. For all of us know that this is a year that as a country, we have several activities. We have a general election. We have I think is one a very unique year that we have I think 5 or so national examinations, several activities that will be happening in the year. But then the business then has to continue, and we'll be sharing insights through our economists on how then as a bank we are looking at the economy, and they will be inviting the economists to share on that. So I encourage all of us to participate in terms of the questions, share feedback on the chat box, so that we can move together. And any insights you also have from your end in the business, please share them so that it becomes an interactive session. I'll also come in later after the economist to ask us to share with us the support, that the commitment then that we have as a bank, as a business, to support our business customers. So I'll come in lastly. Then after that, just as Peter said, we'll have a question and answer session. And that is the outline of today's discussion. So without much ado, I would want to invite Anthony to take over from there. Karibu Anthony Muri. Anthony is a bank economist. Karibu sana Anthony.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Peter and Moses. And thanks a lot for participants. I can see 110 customers are already logged in. That's quite encouraging. And just to kick us off, I think every one of us is quite familiar or quite aware that none of us operates in a vacuum. And so everything we need to do in business, we need to take cognizance of the fact that of the issues that are happening either globally, regionally, or even locally in terms of the actions of various entities or various governments and economies that will impact or that have some influence on our business going forward. And I think with that, I'll just kick off in our today's session. So we'll briefly look at what's happening globally in terms of economic developments and what that states for us as MSMEs. Secondly, we'll look at what's happening in the East African region, then narrow down to the home country, that's Kenya, and look at various issues, including economic growth forecast, what we are looking at in terms of the private sector, optimism levels. Then more importantly, we'll also look at what's happening on the government cycle. Remember that the government impacts each and every business in Kenya. We'll also look at the foreign exchange market. Then second, lastly, we'll look at inflation, and also we'll look at what are some of the takeaways that we need as we go into 2022 for our businesses. So kicking off on the global economic scene, what we're looking at is that globally, just hold on, I remove something. So globally, we're looking at economic growth forecast remaining fairly high in 2022. And so looking at most of the institutions, including the IMF and the World Bank, their forecast is that COVID-19 is forecast to have, sort of just flare up across the globe. And this means that whatever outbreaks will come in 2022 will most likely have reduced or diminishing economic impact compared to what we witnessed in 2020 and 2021. So if we also look at that, it means that global growth is expected to stabilize at around 4.1% in 2022. And this means that we're looking at stability in terms of the global outlook in 2022. And what this means for us as SMEs today, both exporters and also importers, is that it offers us a steady planning horizon compared to what we witnessed in 2022. Remember that in 2022, most of us, especially people doing exports and imports, were not able to actually forecast or plan their businesses more than 2 weeks. Everything was changing more or less every 7 or 10 days. And so we don't expect that to be the case in 2022. We expect a bit of stability, regarding issues of exports and also imports, both prices and also volumes. I think for most of us, what surprised us and also what was a bottleneck for us, or a thorny issue in our businesses regarding the global supply chains, was that it took quite a lot for supplier delivery time to be achieved in 2021 and also previously in 2022. And so what we are looking at is that in 2022, we expect importation delivery time to continue falling. It started falling in November 2021, and so we expect this to continue being the case in 2022. And that means that in 2022, if it took me, 40 or 14 weeks to import a certain, product into Kenya, this means that in 2022, that is expected to come down, from the eye of 14 weeks to probably 10 or 7. And so what the other focus also includes is that come Q3 and also Q4, that's towards the second half of the year, we expect most of the supply chains to actually normalize to their pre-pandemic periods. And so this is good news for us as we start the year. Still on the global parameters, we also, experienced quite volatile prices, especially for most of the businesses that were involved in the importation of various commodities, be it agricultural commodities or energy or metals. I remember most of the hardware stores would actually give, the prices of their steel and iron, products, change every 2 or 3 days. Reason being that the global market for commodities was quite volatile. But now looking at 2022, we expect agricultural prices, which also include food, to move modestly in 2022. Other than the volatility that we saw in 2020 and also 2021. The other focus that we've also seen is that after surging in 2021, metal prices are expected to soften or to come down in the next 2 years. And so this means that it's actually positive for traders who in 2021 experienced very sudden rises in prices of imported steel, construction materials, and also fertilizers for the farmers. And I'm sure this made forecasting of either your price and also demand quite a challenging, either on the material side, that's on the input side, or also on the output side in terms of pricing your various commodities. But come 2022, and especially into Q2, we expect this to be quite stable. And this stability has actually started quite early. We saw this in November 2021, and we expect this stability to hold into 2022. If we move closer into the region, and especially for us who normally trade or interact quite a lot in terms of business-wise in relation to the East Africa. Give me a second, I do this. Okay, thanks. So if we move closer to the East African region, and remember that in my earlier comments, I said that none of us operates in a vacuum. And so we have quite a huge number of our SMEs and also MSMEs who interact quite often within the East African community and also the larger East African region. And what this means is that if you look at the real GDP growth forecast for some of these East African region countries, the growth forecast is quite positive. it's definitely better than what most of these countries registered in 2021. And it's obviously quite positive compared to the dip most of these countries registered in 2020. And so what this means for us is better prospects for the business. If you look at, for example, the Democratic Republic of Congo, I'm sure we've already started seeing enough or an adequate number of MSMEs trying to scope into these countries. So their growth in 2022 is forecast to be about 5.6%, which is quite high compared to the previous years. If you look at Rwanda and also Tanzania, their growth is quite positive. Rwanda is forecast to grow at 7% in 2022, while Tanzania is forecast to grow at 5.1%. And I think the good news for us with Tanzania is that our relations are now much better after the new president, the Madam Suluhu. And so we expect this to translate to positive business deals between MSMEs in Kenya and also, their partners their peers in Tanzania. Similarly, we've seen Uganda remain quite steady. They even registered quite positive growth in 2021, and also they are forecast to grow quite steadily in 2020 at about 2022 at about 5.1%. And so what this means is that most of these ESC region bloc countries are on a growth path, except Ethiopia, obviously, given what we've seen in the last couple of months, the civil unrest there, that has caused them to grow at about 2.0% in 2021 and a focus of 2.0% in 2022. So all this offers, resumption of business trade opportunities for MSMEs that target the wider East African consumer market. And as earlier noted, we pray that the relations with our neighbor Tanzania will remain much better, in the days and months ahead. If we get closer home, which is Kenya, I think our key issue here is, most of us are quite aware of the dip or the slow economic activity that we all registered in 2021 and also in 2020. And so looking at 2022, you notice that, and especially from my table, you notice that the CBK has forecast Kenya's GDP to grow at about 5.9% in 2022. And this is quite positive for us. And I think given where we are coming from, and also what we are approaching in terms of come August, the elections cycle. And this means that if you look at, for example, agriculture, this one is forecast to grow at about 6.3% in 2022, from a low growth of, a contraction of 0.9% in 2021. This is quite positive for us, given that we expect global, agricultural commodities to stabilize in 2022. If you look at what has been happening on the Mombasa auction for tea, we expect that to continue in terms of the improvement in the price per kilo of tea. We've also seen the coffee farmers, reap quite a lot in 2020, 2021, and also we expect this to be the case in 2022, where the price of a kilo of coffee at the highest grade is expected to cost about $5 a kilo. And so this will be quite positive news. The other thing is that we've also seen our vegetable farmers fetch good prices in Europe for their exports. And given what's still happening in Europe, most of the migrant workers there are not yet back. And so we expect, their farms to still continue to have deficit production. And so they'll still rely on our farmers here for their vegetable supply. And so the prices will be quite positive in 2022. The other thing is that, and especially in the first half of 2022, we have two holidays. That's the Valentine's and also the Mother's Day. And we expect this to be quite positive for flour farmers. Remember that these guys do close to 40% during these two holidays. And so we expect that now that there are no lockdowns currently in Europe, that demand will be quite positive for flowers from the Kenyan farmers. Under manufacturing, which is focused to grow at about 4%, we expect the food sector to continue to grow towards its pre-pandemic levels. And given that most of the homestead or households are now back to more or less regular consumption of the normal, sugar, wheat, flour, milk, and what else. And so the SMEs that are also in that value chain in terms of, distributing milk, distributing, drinks, given this focus in terms of recovery in the manufacturing sector, then we expect that they'll reap quite positively in 2022. Similarly, the guys who are in the value chain for non-food manufacturing sector, these ones are also expected to reap quite okay. And especially what we've seen, for example, within the vehicles subsector, and we've also seen quite a positive growth within the cement manufacturing. And so if I'm an MSME, engaged in transportation of cement or distributorship of the same to various, contracts, then I'm bet to actually gain positively in 2022. Similarly for constructions, I think what we've seen initially is that in the other years, when you've had elections, the construction sector has been quite slow towards the election period. But for this year, most of the focus is that this will not be the case due to a few factors. One is that there's a huge chunk of government infrastructure projects happening in the current period. And so this will keep, the contractors and also the value chain for the suppliers in this subsector quite engaged, even in an election year. The other bit is that some of the construction sites, whether residential or otherwise, had also held up or delayed, some work in 2020 and also 2021 due to COVID. So we expect these guys to come into the year and try to finish up some of these sites. And so meaning that the MSME is running an hardware or transport or whatever service that is engaged in this subsector for construction will still be engaged even in an election year like this. And transport and maybe under transport and storage, we've seen now no more, travel rules have been vacated. And so there is even now night travel and inter-country travel. And so these guys within this subsector for transport are set to also be on the positive side of turnover in 2022. For accommodation and restaurants, I think given the dip that we got into in 2020, and also given that we rely largely on international travel, sort of, what we call international tourists, this sector will still improve, but not quite into the levels that we had in 2019 or 2018. But it's gradually, coming up. The other bit we've also seen now, education subsector, come up given the full opening of most of the primary, the tertiary, and also the secondary education into physical learning full-time. And that means that this sector is expected to grow in a normal in the normal cycle of things. And so even an MSME, doing either supplies into schools or anything to do with this education subsector, then I expect more or less a normal year for me in 2022, despite whatever is happening around. Similarly, we've also seen the SMEs interacting with the health sector, and now back to full swing, and so we expect positive prospects for them in the current year 2022. If we change gears a bit and probably look at what is happening on the government cycle, as I said, almost each and every SME is highly impacted by whether the government spends or the government doesn't spend. And so what we're looking at, and especially in the first half of 2022, that's between January and June, is that we focus the government to continue to release payments either regularly and also to remain more or less at the same levels that we saw in 2021. In 2021, we saw the government ramp up quite heavily its releases into the various arms of the government. And so we expect and focus that this will be the case, and especially between January and June. So we've seen releases for recurrent expenditure have been quite high in the previous year, indicating that government has done regular payments to suppliers owed by the government for the recurrent expenditure. We've also seen now, with no much rules around domestic travel, we've also seen the government starting engaging their usual seminars and conferences. And this means that the suppliers within this value chain are actually meant to benefit in the coming months of 2022. We saw quite a bit of the hotels suffer in 2020 and also 2021, especially into Q3 2021, when the government had suspended most of the activities around conferences and seminars. But now that this is back to normal, then we think that this will be also positive. Similarly, if you look at what the government has been spending on development spending, that's payment of contractors. This one has been regular and also higher than previous years. And so if this continues in the months of 2022, this will be quite positive news for us. Similarly, looking at the numbers for exchequer releases, that's the money the government sends to the counties each and every month. We've seen this remain quite high and also steady from the period July to December. And so if the government continues at this pace, then what this means is that most of the MSMEs that have dealings with the county governments will have their payments done either regularly and also at the right level. The CBK of Kenya, that's the Central Bank of Kenya, did a survey in January just to gauge what the private sector players are viewing, the start of the year as being. And so what we saw is that the private sector survey that was done in January 2022 showed continued optimism by the private sector enterprises in terms of economic prospects for 2022. And so the private sector is largely upbeat, largely optimistic in terms of the prospects for their businesses in 2022. And what we've seen is that this has been high, and especially towards the end of 2021, all the way into January this year. And if we actually compare these numbers with what we got in 2020 and also early 2021, then we can clearly say that most of the private enterprises have actually indicated a turn for better times ahead into 2022. There is one sector that suffered quite massively in 2020 and also 2021, given the pandemic of COVID, and that was the hospitality sector. And mostly this affected almost each and every player, be it transporters, be it suppliers into hotels, be it the hotels themselves. And so looking at a survey that was done by CBK in January, around the 20th and 19th of January, it indicates that this sector is actually now rising up. And so for sure we can say most of the sectors, because this is actually the last sector to come up, to rise from the COVID-19 pandemic. We can almost safely say now that all the sectors are on the recovery path. And specifically, if you look at what the hotels indicated as being their forward bookings. So on 19th of January, the hotels indicated that for January itself, they had quite huge bookings in terms of forward bookings. If you look at also February, March, and April, which is actually positive feedback in terms of the happenings here. The hotels in Mombasa seem to be doing much better. For example, as at today, these hotels have more than 33% forward booking for the month of April. Similarly, they have about 31.5% forward bookings for the month of February. And so meaning that by and large, they are quite on the recovery path. And that means that the MSMEs that are interacting with these hotels, be it either supplying various commodities, will also be on the positive side, given that the hotels are now doing quite a bit of business compared to the 8 and 5% levels that we were seeing in 2020 and also early 2021. Similarly, we've also seen the SMEs that have various restaurants indicated that their prospects are also rising. For example, if you look at the utilization of restaurant services relative to pre-COVID levels, for example, the hotels in Nairobi in May last year were doing about 19%. In December 2020, 2021, these hotels were doing up of about 43%. Similarly, if you look at the hotels in Mombasa, in May 20th, these hotels were almost closed. They were doing about 0 to 5% restaurant services. Come December, these hotels were up at about 77.4%. And so meaning that even looking at the average for the hotels, their restaurant service utilization is now up by December at about 43%. And if you look at November, that was about 50%. So by and large, we can say this is quite good recovery path. Most of us do, imports and also exports, and so pay attention to the exchange rate. What we've seen is that the Kenyan shilling, and especially its exchange rate against the dollar, has weakened in January 2022 to trade at about 113.6 shillings to the dollar. That's on the 31st of January. What has driven this is the fact that imports have grown as various factories, various service centers open up. They are now back to their normal demand for imports. And so this has pushed, the demand for dollar. The other bit has also been that if you look at these particular imports, one of our key imports, which is about 20% of the import bill that we do as Kenya, has been oil. And if you look at the price of oil, this has risen quite a lot. And so this has also pushed a bit of pressure on the shilling. And if you look at our cycle for tourism, we missed the peak. The peak was usually October to December. We missed that peak. And so we missed a huge collection of dollars in 2021. And so these various factors are what has pushed, to the depreciation of the Kenya shillings. However, looking at the period, and especially in Q1 into March, what we expect is marginal depreciation as the import supply chain normalizes, and that means that once this import supply chain normalizes, then prices on the import bill will start falling, and so we'll get to a level of stability for the exchange rate. If we try to compare the performance of our currency, that's the Kenya shilling against the dollar in 2021 with other countries, what we notice is that if you look at the red bar, the currency for Kenya against the dollar lost about 3.6% in 2021, meaning that the currency to the dollar, the dollar became more expensive to Kenya shilling by about 3.6% in 2021. Similarly, if you compare this to our peers, the Uganda shilling gained a bit, and so they didn't suffer any depreciation on the currency. Instead, they gained about 2.8%. And the reason here is because Uganda is sort of a closed economy. They don't highly depend on tourists to fund their dollar positions. If you look at their trade, and especially imports and exports, they more or less trade with East Africans, and so they can easily buy, buy stuff without using the dollar. They can import, things from Kenya without using the dollar. They can pay in Kenya shillings, and so they're not quite dependent on the dollar. And that means that their currency didn't lose as much. Similarly, the similar case with Tanzania. What we saw is that in as much as they depend on tourists like Kenya, the minerals that they export fetched quite a good price in 2021, and so it counterbalanced that loss on the tourism receipts. If you look at the extreme end, was the Ethiopian birr, and I think the March depreciation of about 21.6%. Was led by the fact that in the second half of 2021, we witnessed a bit of civil unrest there. And that means that, they didn't export as much. And the airline didn't do much also to bring in dollars to Ethiopia. And so I think with this picture, then what that means is that also the Rwandan franc lost a bit to about 3.9%, more or less the same case with Kenya. Similarly, if you look at the South African rand, about 7.8% depreciation. The euro, which is the main currency in Europe, lost about 6.9%. And so what this tries to give us is the fact that the depreciation or the pressure on the Kenya shilling has not been purely due to domestic issues. It is also led by the fact that the dollar strengthened in this period. And so with the dollar strengthening, that meant that, most of the currencies depreciated or lost some value, including the euro itself. For inflation, which is sort of at the heart of every business, because what it means is that if the consumer is suffering due to inflation, meaning that they can't buy as much goods as you'd want them to buy, or as much goods as they probably bought last year, what we've seen is that, and also looking at the first half of 2021, is that inflation has been quite stable at around anything between 5% to 6% in most of 2021. And also, if you look at the number for January, inflation in January was about 5.4%. That means that the consumer is not very pressurized, and meaning that they can still afford, a few of our items. And looking at the forecast for 2022, we don't expect this to deviate much. We expect inflation to still oscillate, between 5 to 7%. And if you specifically look at the figure for January, we saw a fall in electricity costs by between 6 to 9% in January, obviously depending on the level of power consumption. And so looking at the reforms that we have seen the government start doing in the power sector, then going forward into this year, we expect the consumer to suffer less in terms of electricity costs. And what this means is that whatever they save on their electricity bill is likely to be spent on consuming another item, which might be what you and me are trying to sell or to produce. And so into the rest of 2022, I think the key issue or the key risk on inflation is just the crude oil price. And what we've seen the government do, and especially on Monday or Tuesday morning, is that they've now budgeted for the fuel subsidy, and they've actually provided for it in the supplementary budget. And so sort of we can say until the current fiscal year ends, that's in June 2022, we can be sure that the government will bear the or cushion us against the increase in oil prices, because they've now budgeted and put forward for Parliament to approve about 24.6 billion for the fuel subsidy. And that means that I think we have a good planning horizon, given that up to June we can say fuel prices will not will just move marginally. They'll not surprise us with a huge upward trajectory. I think even as we continue to conduct our businesses in 2022, the CBK survey in January also put forward to the respondents some of the to sort of mention some of the ways that they are mitigating factors that are impeding or constraining their business growth. And what we saw is that the respondents put forward the following ways of managing factors that are challenging or impeding their business growth, which are also applicable to us today. For example, quite a good number of them, about 21% of them, indicated that this year they want to manage costs much better or manage their risks better. 16% also indicated that they actually want to diversify a bit of what they do, either in services or products. Then 11% indicated that there are few of their processes or their business issues that they can actually do much better in terms of maybe digitize or innovate. We've also seen about 11% say they'll market their products or goods much better this year to sort of attract the eye of the customer. Then we've also seen about 10% indicate that this year they want to lobby quite a bit more for their issues to be resolved, be it with various government bodies or various county bodies, or even various lobby groups. Then what we also saw is that 9% want, to develop their skills a bit better this year. Probably attend better webinars or more webinars this year. Probably identify the areas of weaknesses that they have and address them. And so for us, we can also, in a way, adopt this and apply in our day-to-day business lives in 2022. The other bit to consider and also to remember as I wind up is that the final consumer is actually still our key or our king. So whatever we do, be it products or services, we still need to remember what is the priority goals for Kenyans. And so there's a survey that was done by Kenya Bureau of Statistics. It's called the FinAccess Survey of 2021, where they asked at the end of 2021, I think October, November, where they asked about 21 or 23,000 Kenyans. What are their major priority goals as at that time? And what we've seen is that this is the same question they posed to them in 2019. And still the results are more or less the same, in the sense that most of the priority goals are around education, meaning that every household still has education as a priority goal for their children. We also have the issue of putting food on the table being quite a high priority goal. We also seen about 15 or close to 16% of them indicated that they want to improve their business or farms, and about 10%, about 8.9%, that's close to 9%, indicated that their goal this year is actually health. And so I think this just poses a challenge for us as MSMEs seated here to actually remember what seems to be inelastic in the household budget. So what seems to be top of the mind of the various consumers that we are serving today, and that means that this is what they will always demand or always buy from us. And so as a bank, we continue to support you as MSMEs or entrepreneurs to actually deliver on all these issues that are priority goals for Kenyans today. Thank you. At this point, I'll invite Moses Gita, who is the head of business banking, and Moses will project from his end to actually take us through the next cycle. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Anthony. I think I got from Peter that you had wanted to follow up the meeting after your presentation. Maybe I'll give you an opportunity to respond to a few questions. Then I request you stay on until the end of the question and answer. Maybe Peter, you could pick a few questions there that Anthony can respond to as we continue.
Thank you, Moses, and thank you so much, Anthony, for those great insights and the information that you've shared. I think quite a number of insights that I've also been able to pick, I think generally is to say that there are some positive trends and expectations and opportunities for our MSMEs. I think most of the sectors and for the value chains and for the customers who are in those sectors and their value chains, I think there are some opportunities. So maybe Anthony, before we let you off the hook, is maybe just a few questions that have come through. And I think the first question is possibly just to say what would be the breakdown of the information that you've shared. You've talked about numbers and some percentages. We'd want to hear maybe in a simpler language, what maybe are the numbers also saying just for these MSMEs. And I think there's a question here from also Teddy Owino. He's asking, there seems to be growth in Airbnb demand as opposed to the usual hotel vocational bookings. Is this a new frontier? Then there's someone who had asked about the economy is still Teddy had asked, and it seems Kenya seems to be the only country that is diminishing in 2022. Maybe you want to make a comment onto that, and as I encourage our customers to proceed with more questions so that we can let Anthony proceed to another engagement. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Peter, for that and also this opportunity. I think to sort of summarize my my presentation in a simpler, in sort of a few sentences, what I would say is for all of us who depend on the global economies, be it we are importing something from China, be it the fact that we are exporting something to the US, what the global happenings mean is that there are better prospects now for us to do that, to engage or to export or to import, products. The issues that we earlier faced in 2021 of, waiting for an import to arrive in Kenya, taking about 15 or whatever number of weeks, that is bound to reduce. That time of waiting for shipment is bound to reduce in 2022, given that the supply chain dynamics or challenges that we are experiencing in 2021 and also 2020 are now being resolved. And so if you look at the supply delivery time, this one has now started coming down from November 2021. Similarly, for the MSME who engages, with various actors in business regionally, be it Rwanda, be it Uganda, or be it Tanzania, today or this year, there are better prospects to actually engage with these guys. Reason being that their countries are on the recovery path, meaning that if you sell, commodities to Tanzania or Rwanda, the demand there is bound to be higher. If you come closer home, to summarize, is that all the sectors witnessed a dip or a challenge in economic growth in 2021 and also 2020. Come 2022, which is this year, what we've seen is that most of, or actually all of these sectors are on a recovery path. And even looking at the sector that suffered most, which was the hotels and the tourism sector, since October, that is also coming up, meaning that our engagement in all these sectors is bound to be better in 2022 in terms of turnover. Then Teddy asked about the A&B. Obviously, that has been quite an upcoming or an innovative issue in the sector of tourism and hotels. What we saw is that KNBS has already indicated that in their future surveys, in all their surveys from 2022, they'll also try to capture the sentiments in this subsector. And so I think in the coming days, we'll see an advert either on radio or in the newspapers, for guys who are doing this A&B to sort of register themselves. But the challenge here is that for most of us business community, if we are told to register, I think what flags out is, KRA might or is likely to start following up. And so I hope they'll make some inroads, but obviously we've seen growth in that issue of A&B. Someone said that demand or growth is diminishing for Kenya in 2022. And I think the decrease, and especially to answer you, George, the decrease has been that in 2021, we grew quite aggressively by about, it's estimated that we grew by about 8%. Reason being that in 2020, so we were coming from a all or a dip in 2020. And so what that means is that in 2021, the growth registered was bound to be higher. But now that we've almost recovered with the 8%, then 2022 growth of about 5.9% is what will now seem to start normalizing in terms of our normal GDP growth rate. Thanks. Back to you, Peter.
Thank you so much, Anthony, for those answers. I know there could be more answers that will come, but I think in the interest of time, and Anthony had requested us to let him to attend another meeting. We will continue to receive those questions, and I'm very sure we'll be able to address, even after this training, we'll be able to share some of the answers that you've requested through the emails. So I think at this particular point, I really want to appreciate you, Anthony, for those insights. As we proceed to the next presenter, who is Moses Gitau, our head of business banking. He'll then come in and say, then how do we come in as a bank to support you to grow and also take advantage of these sectors that Anthony have shared with us, and what will be those commitments that as a bank that we have to the MSMEs for 2022. And Moses, over to you for the next part of the presentation.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you, Muri, for those insights. I think before I even go to my presentation to my customers, is my key takeout, and I think Muri has summarized it for 2022 to say we have a positive outlook. I think we are on a recovery path as an economy, and just urge our MSMEs to take advantage of that recovery. I think Muri has given us quite some very good insights. The other key insight is the issue of the regional trade, which has come up to say all our neighbors in the region, which I think we have the East African community, and I think around the COMESA also have a positive growth into the year, projected to have a positive growth into the year 22. That gives also a very big opportunity for us in terms of the trading, for those who do trading with the East African partners. I think the other one is the GDP, the Kenyan GDP of projected at some quarters talk of 6, but I think it's an average of 5.9, which is quite positive in the year that you are in, and the recovery that the economy has had in the COVID throughout the COVID period. Now going to the core bank's commitment in support of MSMEs into 2022. And I think I would want to link that now to the presentation that Muri has gone through, is that I would want to just give a few commitments that would, as a bank, would offer to our customers in 2022. We'll highlight a few issues on the financial solutions that we think then will help you in terms of taking advantage of what you have discussed. We'll also talk about the payments and receiving solutions. How then do we support you? And I think in our last sessions that we had last year, we kept on saying that we have become digital. The bank has really embarked on the digital journey. We have improved our processes, and most of our transactions are being done digital. So we want to carry our customers through, because COVID has taught us that those things can also be, the banking services can also be accessed and done digitally. And I think we'll be sharing that. And of course, I'll also be talking about the non-financial services, like what you are doing now. How then do we look at them in 2022? Peter, if you go to the next slide, is to say, and this is our commitment to the MSMEs in 2022. We'll continue offering the financial solutions that you have been offering, that is working capital, asset financing and mortgage, and even the trade finance solutions that you offer to our customers. We have enhanced our digital solutions, that is mainly the mobile facility. And for mobile MCOP Cash, we'll continue offering the mobile business loans. And this is available to sole proprietorships, individuals, and even the limited companies in business. And I would invite you to visit our branches if you have not registered at Copcash, to just ensure that you are not left out in this journey of the digital era, and we are able to lend even to you on mobile. External partners will continue support in terms of business growth, and I think we are partnered with a number of partners out there just to help us support the MSMEs. And specifically, I want to mention these few partners that have come through, and this money is available to you as an MSME, as a business customer. We have a credit guarantee scheme that we are offering with the government of Kenya, and here I have about 1.8 billion available to the MSMEs. It's available in your branch. Talk to your branch, your branch, and what you are saying for this is to say that it comes in as a working capital, and it can help you, or an asset finance, and it can help any business. The good thing is that it can be availed as a second facility in addition to what you have in the bank. Of course, it has some terms and conditions that you have to meet, but it's available, affordable at some discounted rate by the government of Kenya. So we are one of the partner banks that is offering the government of Kenya credit guarantee scheme. The second area is that also I have a 23 billion Kenya shillings facility by the IFC. This is available also to the MSMEs. We are lending. I think we covered this last year to say we have a lot of money for the MSME space. Those who want to borrow, that money is available. European Investment Bank, I think, is our last year we did partner with European Investment Bank, and we got a loan of 6.5 billion to just lend to MSMEs, meaning out of those three partners, the government of Kenya, the International Finance Corporation, the European Investment Bank, we have over 30 billion that is available to the MSMEs. So I would request that you take advantage of that. It's available in our branches. Just inquire for the MSME, for those are in business. The fourth area of partnership, sorry, is I think last year we had a lot of engagements with the external consultants, just to give us tips in terms of how then we run our businesses, insights, and what have you. Into 2022, then we'll also continue bringing a lot of consultants, and I think specifically next week, into the next three or four sessions, we have a very exciting presenter coming from IFC, who, in a continuation of what we did last year, I would invite that you also join all the webinars every Thursday, just to get those insights. Then we have a new offering, which you must have seen in the press, because we launched it 2 days ago. ISC medical equipment financing. For those of us in the health sector, I would encourage that you also participate in this. It's available to those the health, what you call health MSMEs, hospitals, doctors, all those that are there participating. And through ISC, the president of the ISC was here 2 days ago. And I think we launched that product, and it's available to all the health MSMEs. And we'll continue inviting those who are here, those who are there in terms of MSMEs, to just access this product. So if you are here as a health provider in the country and in the space of MSME, that is available. That fund is available to you. You can inquire from the branch. The MSME trainings and forums, I think, will also continue in terms of those engagements, just as committed earlier. Now, financial solutions, I think, is another area that I say that I'll talk about. And here is to say the entry point to the bank and is a relationship. And this is a transactional solutions that will continue to offer. There's MSME package accounts, either in the space of bronze, silver, or gold. I think we'll continue offering that. Bronze is the account that comes into those of us who are at the entry level. There will also be silver, where those who are a bit established, and gold for those who are more established and have sort of structures. So those accounts are available. If you are here, then you do not have a relationship with the bank, I would encourage that you open that MSME package account based on the level you are as a business. MSME working capital loans will continue offering those for business expansion. But, and I think this comes in handy where you have all those needs that the business needs, the day-to-day needs of a business, expansion, the stocking, all those needs that you have as a business. Then in 2022, we continue offering those solutions. E-credit, this is a big one. And here what you are saying for MSME customers as a sole proprietorship of a limited company, you have a limit of a max of $1 million that is available on phone. 1 million Kenya shillings available on phone, and you do not have to go to the bank. As far as you are banking with us and your account is active as transactions, you have a limit up to $1 million shillings. It's accessible 24/7. So it's one of the easy solutions then that can help you in terms of sorting emergencies, sorting out those needs that come in very fast as working capital. Asset financing, I think, and leasing, we've talked of that. And here we are talking of movable assets like motor vehicles and personal vehicles, solar panels, solar panels, and all those equipments that you can have. So we could continue providing that solution of asset financing and leasing. Of course, we have a key one, and this I think we have accelerated during the COVID period, the supply chain financing solutions and distributor financing. And this is the linkage that we offer now between a supplier and the buyer. And for this, again, as a bank, would continue offering that solution to yourselves in 2022. So if you have any need like that, I would encourage you also visit your banker, visit your branch, and you'll be able to collect more information about that. And those who can also give feedback on chat, we can also pick that feedback in terms of the need, and you'll be able to escalate it to the branch as required. Now, the other slide, Peter, is on the digital channels. As I said, we have invested a lot during the COVID period. We took a lot of time as a bank to re-engineer and upgrade our digital channels just to reach out to our customers more effectively. And in that regard, I'm glad to say that over 95% of our transactions now are happening through digital channels. Less and less customers are coming to the bank. And if you are not registered under the digital channel, I'll request you register so that you can enjoy the benefits that are there. M-Corp Cash is the same as simu mkononi, banking mkononi, sorry, banking mkononi wako, and it helps you in terms of that engagement now as a transacting as a customer. And we link that to the account. You are able to transact through your account. Micro payments or pay bill. This is our pay bill 400-200. This is very good for for businesses in terms of receiving. As you receive from the customers, it will accumulate. It will automatically now credit that money to a wallet account that you can push to the bank. We are going now to further to connect that to link to such that it terminates directly into your account. So pay bill 400-200. It's a micro payment. It helps you correct. And at any level, even payments for what we call a mababoga, payment for border borders, that can be done through that bill, and through that pay bill 400-200, it helps you correct and be able now to even pay as you transact either on wallet or into the account. Then M collection is our M-Pesa now here, and it helps us for those who have bigger businesses. It helps you in terms of the collection. The other one is corp agents, or what we call corp kwa jirani. That's a bank near you, near you there. And what we are saying for these agents, we have enabled them even to open accounts. You have enabled them to receive your cash and all those things that come through all those services that you want to through the bank. So is a bank near you in the estate, in the village, or anywhere that you are in, almost in every other mode. So take advantage of those corp agents. They can offer you as much services as what you can also get in a branch, in a corp bank branch. Corp online, I think this one, what we have done is that we have refurbished and upgraded. We are now able to transact online for a number of our customers. e-commerce, again, what you are saying, we have partnered with the several service providers, and you can be able to purchase a number of items through e-commerce, Kina Jumia, all those sites that you want to visit. Through our platform, you can be able to buy those items. B2B integration comes for the bigger businesses that would require to have that integration. And in this case, what you are saying, we can be able to link to the systems, can be able to talk to each other. Your system and the core bank system helps you in terms of even reconciliation, all those items then that you're looking for as a business. Lipa and M-Pesa termination, a big one here to say, and what you are saying, your money that is paid through Lipa and M-Pesa by your customers, you can terminate that directly to the bank. And for this, what happens? It helps you in terms of the transactions that go to your account. It makes your statement healthy such that in case of borrowing as a customer, then your M-Pesa transactions are also accounted for. So we can have a real-time termination such that that money hits directly into your account after the customer pays you through Lipa na M-Pesa. POS and merchants, these are PDQs at what we call a PDQ, and it helps you now in terms of those customers who come to you with cards or tap to pay. Those customers will come with cards to you, and you will be able to collect as far as even for a merchant to help you collect even for a customer with another bank. So it also depends on the size of the business. If you are in an area that your customers will prefer to use cards, if you have had a customer asking you whether they can pay through card, we have that solution called the POS that will help you to do that. ATMs and cash deposit machines. Here we are saying all our ATMs are available. We have about 500 ATMs in the country, just to help you sort out. Some are deposit taking in some locations, and some are just dispensers, and they would help you in terms of accessing the cash or depositing the cash. In the BC markets like Kikomba, Cophouse, some key branches, we have a deposit taking machine, which now that you don't have to have your cash, keep your cash overnight. For those who would work beyond the banking hours, it will help you in terms of the cash depositing machine will help you in terms of making the deposit of the banking hours. Into the next slide, Peter, is on the non-financial services. And this into 2022, it's our commitment that we'll continue offering this, what we call business networking forums. And I know as the economy opens up, these were very key forums that we ran into just before COVID. I think the last one that we did was 2020, early 2020, just before COVID came into the country. And this year we would want to come near you as a bank for those that will do the near you and share. We'll share insights there.
Hi, Moses. I'm not sure we can hear you. Moses, I think you are frozen. So yeah, so customers, I think Moses has some technical challenges, but I think as he tries to come back is to say, this is part of the program that we're actually running on non-financial services. It's a program that that was rolled out by the bank just to make sure that we continue to empower our MSME customers on managing their businesses. And we want to ensure that even as we do business, we have the capacity to do so, because I think even COVID has trained us that we need to be equipped, and we need to look at the information that we have to be able to support us to do business. And as Moses was talking about the physical forums that are there, we anticipate to have such forums even as we proceed. I see Moses, you coming up. Let me just try and enable you to be able to proceed.
Thank you, Peter.
Yes,
Sorry for that disruption. I don't know at what point I disappeared.
Moses, you just disappeared when you talked about the forums, the anticipation to have the physical forums as we proceed. So maybe you can just continue with the business clinics.
Thank you. And so sorry for that disruption. I think I was saying that into 2022, we want to go back to the networking forums where we'll be engaging our customers near their businesses. And we'll invite you through the branches just to share insights as a bank. Business clinics, these happen at the branch. And again, we will get back to that this year as conditions allow, just to help us in terms of engagement and training of our customers. And we'll come with experts in specific areas that then we can handle together. The kind of webinar that you're running now today, MSME webinars, I think as I promised earlier, we won't run this every Thursday and we won't reach as many as possible. So continue joining our dear customers so that we can pick also insights from you and exchange ideas here. And I know the feedback given for these webinars into last year that were very useful. And we'll continue to bring as many speakers as possible so that you can pick insights related to our businesses. International business trips, I think this is an area that you had introduced into just before COVID, and we did a number of trips in 2018, 2019, and I think we had the last one in November 2019. And what we are promising is that if things open up this year, I have seen a number of requests from my customers. A number of them have called us asking for business trips. And what I'm promising is that if things improve, is something that we can also do this year out there. We had very good exposure trips in China, in Europe, and we'll continue being on the lookout to see whether we can do some this year. MSME online portal, and this is a key one. I would encourage that you also view the trainings, all the trainings that we've run since 2019, sorry. All the trainings that we've run, including this one, all the forums that we have held as a bank are deposited in the core bank MSME portal. So you just need to go through to the core bank website and visit the MSME portal there. You get a lot of information. So even the recordings that we run, there's a lot of information. There are a lot of materials that you can refer to based on what you choose as a topic. So I request that you also go there because there's a lot of information that we communicate to our MSMEs. I think with that now, Peter, is to end my presentation and ask for any questions and feedback that has come through. Then we can maybe handle that, Peter, as we go to the call to action for today's session. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you so much, Moses, for those insights and even giving the commitments that the bank have this year, just to ensure that we work together with customers, and we really want to partner with our customers. And looking at what Muli talked about, the opportunities that will be there in these sectors, I think our customers needs to work closely with the bank. And that is what Moses was trying to say. What are these commitments and what support do we have as a bank for 2022? A few questions for you. Maybe Moses, I can start from the very first one from Frederick. He's asking, kindly let us know the criteria used to offer unsecured loans as working capital. For how can one qualify to get an asset finance of 6 million and yet can't get a working capital of the same unsecured working capital facility? Maybe Moses, you can handle that one first as we proceed to the next one. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Peter, and thank you, Fred, for that question. I think a good one. And you have asked for the criteria in terms of accessing an unsecured facility. Let me say that yes, as a bank, we do offer a number of unsecured facilities, including what I talked of on mobile. That mobile facility is unsecured up to 1 million. Then we have the level of unsecured facility that goes up to 10 million, depending on the business size. the criteria that we look at as a bank is that you have to be banking and transacting in your MSME package. So the entry point is that you have to have an MSME package account. The second one is that the business the turnovers, your business turnovers then have to be evident in that account, and will discount based on your business turnovers and the sales that happens in the branch. So I would encourage Frederick, if you're looking to access an unsecured facility, bankings, I think, will be key in terms of you accessing the unsecured facility. Number two, asset finance, 6 million. For asset finance, let me say, number one, we have partnered with all new motor vehicle dealers. That is people like Isuzu East Africa. We've partnered with Simba-Coat. We've partnered with Tata. All the new motor vehicle dealers in the country, we have partnerships and schemes that we run with them. And for some, we even finance up to 95%. So 6 million, then if your business is able to support, it's available. We also have a partnership with World Navy for those who want to import from Japan. So that again helps us in terms of importation. It has some cost saving element for you as an importer. And number three, we also finance used motor vehicles. And used motor vehicles, those are the vehicles you see in the car bazaars that you're talking of. They would have been originated from Japan, from several other countries out there. We would finance them based on the need of the customer and, of course, the qualification criteria. And I think the pertinent question we have asked is whether you can have a working capital and an asset finance. Yes, an asset finance is what we call investment capital. And a working capital facility is what we call, rather, the working capital is money that is injected into the business. So it means then you can access both facilities at the same time, of course, depending with the qualification criteria and the banking level that come to us. Thank you, Frederick, for that question. Peter, thank you. Back to you.
Thank you, Moses, for that clarification. Three more questions from Silas. Do you have unsecured loans for individuals? If yes, what are the terms and conditions required? Maybe you have tried to answer that in the other question, but he has another question. Do you buy out loans for individuals? And then the third one is, do you have out mortgage facilities, and what would be the interest rate?
So I go for that, or you have another one?
You can proceed with those ones first, Moses.
Thank you, Peter. Let me start with the last one. In terms of interest rates, we are regulated by central bank. So our rates currently at 13% as regulated by central bank across all the products. The second part is that he has asked Cyrus is the issue of mortgage. And let me say we have what we call good home mortgage. And we do finance several aspects. We would finance for somebody who would want to maybe buy a complete unit. Maybe it's a house that you'd want to buy. We would finance through mortgage somebody who would want to buy a plot or a property and perhaps build onto that property in the future. And also through mortgage, we would finance what we call construction. So we have several solutions that we offer then for mortgage. And I would encourage Cyrus to also get more information from the nearest branch. But basically, let me confirm we have all those products that we do as mortgage, including what we call project financing, Cyrus. Buying out of loans for individuals, I didn't quite clear get what kind of an individual, but I would just attempt to say, so that Cyrus can also pick that to say, if you're in employment, because for employment, then we do buyouts, depending on where we are and the performance of the facility, we do buyout. And the other question is on unsecured for individuals. Yes, we do have unsecured for individuals. If you what I tackled is unsecured for a business person. We have unsecured for individuals, which goes through a salary. And for that, if you are an individual, you are salaried, you are employed, your salary has to be coming to us, or we have to have an arrangement with your employer for a check-off. I think we also have that unsecured facility for individuals. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you so much, Moses. Maybe two more. There's one here from William and Son Limited. He's saying we are health providers in the medical devices. What are the procedures? So maybe he wants to know more about the medical equipment financing. He wants to possibly see how does he qualify for this. Maybe you can touch something on that. There is another one here from Anonymous Attendee, and he's saying we hear about loans being offered by organizations to help SMEs, but we are not told about the conditions. Maybe you want to touch some of the conditions that we are looking for, Moses, as we advance these loans to customers. There's another one maybe from Kembu. He's asking, do we need a collateral for these loan facilities? Maybe you want to touch about the unsecured and also the loans that also needs a security. Briefly, Moses, over to you.
Thank you, Peter. I think for William, the health provider, the facility that you're offering is a partnership between what we call a risk share guarantee between ourselves and IFC. And for this, we are using that the equipment. We are supporting on medical equipment, X-ray machines, dental units, all those equipment that are available for the medical space. And we have a risk share where we are supporting 50-50. And of course, we have to have the primary entry point being an MSME package account. And we have a discounted interest rate. We have very good conditions for that. Maybe what I would encourage William to do is visit your branch. If you are not a customer, visit your nearest branch, number one, to open the account, and number two, now to inquire about that product. But Peter, you could also pick William's contact so that we could share the program with him further in terms of the other offerings. But let me confirm it's available. And we are doing that financing for medical equipment. The one of, I think you said is anonymous, where you are saying whether we have the conditions for these facilities, is just to say what I said earlier. I think just to be open, and I think I was very open to say we have money available, and from ISC, from European Bank, from government of Kenya, all that money comes to the bank to enable us on rent. It's a loan to the bank that is given at some rate. Then for us, we are now supposed to lend to you as an MSME. So those kind of facilities is what I talked of earlier. So we just being open to say we have that money from those institutions that would help you. Would help you as an organization in terms of as a business, in terms of now improving on your business. And I think the key thing here is to say it comes in as a bank loan, so it has to have some costs. It has to also have some obligations in terms of repayment from the business, so that you can also lend to the next person. Most of those also would come as a guarantee, meaning that the bank is using its own money. Like now, the government fund that I talked of is a guarantee where we are using our own money, but the government has guaranteed us if you're led to MSMEs and they meet this and this criteria, then you'll be able to support those guarantees. So it's not that it's free money, it comes in with a cost, and that's why you have also to do it in a very responsible manner. Specifically, like the government money that I talked of is basically our taxpayers' money that the government has decided how do they spur the MSME space. And they have come up with that program that we are working together with them in terms of supporting our MSMEs. So I would encourage you take advantage of those solutions. Some have discounted rates, like what we are now calling the government fund has a discounted rate. It would help us in terms of accessing. The medical equipment program has a discounted rate. The other, what I call ISC and European Bank, they are coming at the normal bank terms, because those are loans that have been extended to the bank to lend to MSMEs. Kevin, you have talked about collateral. I've talked of what we call unsecured, meaning we also have facilities that do not require collateral in the bank, but we also have facilities that require collateral, and unsecured will go to a certain extent. That is up to about 10 billion for MSMEs. And if you have collateral, then you can also access even the The other ones, even bigger facilities, including mortgage. And we have also what we call like asset finance, and even the medical equipment. The asset that you are buying is self-securing, meaning that becomes the collateral. If you buy a motor vehicle and asset finance, that becomes your collateral. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Moses. The questions are many, so many, but I think because of time, I want Moses to proceed with the call to action. And before you go to call to action, Moses, you answer just the last one from still from Anonymous, and but he has indicated his name. I'm Ronald. I would like to know whether you are able to finance LPO, given that the client does not have a security or a collateral. Yeah, and also given the fact that the LPO is from a reputable institution. Maybe as you answer that, then Moses, you will proceed to the call to action. And I think before even you answer, a number of customers have also asked whether we give this recording. We'll also be able to share this. I can confirm that through the emails that you registered, we'll be able to share this recording, so then you're able to get more details after this. Thank you so much, and over to you, Moses.
Thank you, Peter. I think, Rona, yes, let me say we do finance LPO, we do finance LPOs, and more so, I think you've gone further to talk of a reputable company, a reputable organization. We do finance, and I would request that you present your case to the branch. We do finance LPO, and even invoices. We do finance those LPO financing and invoice financing. We do that as a bank. Into then call to action as we close the session is to ask our customers to visit our branches for more information on our financing solutions. We may not have been able to answer all the questions, but all that information is available in the branches. And I request that you talk to the branch manager or the business banker in terms of the more information and whatever need then you have as a business. I think the other part that I talked is I would encourage that you leverage on our enhanced digital solutions to continuously bank and make payments into the bank. Make your other payments both in and out of the bank, and these solutions would help you in terms of also the savings. And the last one is present your financial needs for our support, and that can only be done through the branch network, through the branch that is near you. There is a person who takes care of the business needs or the business customers, called a business banker, and of course there is a branch manager. So those two people, if you look out for them in your nearest branch, they will be able to address your needs. Rastray is what Peter has raised. I would encourage that you visit the Core Bank MSME portal for more information. This has everything. Go through the Core Bank website, and that portal has displayed there. I think could help us in terms of now accessing the materials, including this recording will be deposited very soon, the presentation and even the recording. If you want to listen to what Muri said, you can visit there. If you don't want to listen to what I said, you can visit that portal. And I think we do also answer a number of questions that you may not have answered here through that portal. So thank you so much. God bless you as we get back to our normal businesses. Back to you, Peter.
Thank you so much, Moses, for your presentation. And I think at this particular point, we really want to appreciate everybody who has participated, and starting with Anthony Muli. Though he left a little bit early, but I think we were able to gather quite a lot of information and insights that are very, very useful. Thank you so much, Moses, as well. And I think looking at what the customers are responding through the chat box, I think the session was quite insightful. We really appreciate you, Moses, for that commitment, even to say that we want to work with our customers as we continue to do business in 2022. I did also want to take this opportunity to appreciate our customers, our participants who are in this particular call. Thank you. We had very good representation. I think this being the very first one for the year, we had more than 200 MSME customers who were attended, and we really appreciate you. We hope that we will continue to have these engagements going on, and very sure you'll also be joining the next one that will be talking about loan management. I think the next week we have scheduled a very insightful webinar on loan management, and we'll be having speakers from IFC just to give us more insights. Thank you so much also for the staff members, internal staff members who participated in this and they supported, and we continue to support our customers. And I think our commitment is to say we will work together with you, our customers, and we'll continue to listen to your feedback and questions and see how then we tailor-make all the solutions that then are necessary for you. Asanteni sana, we want to stop it at that. May God bless you and may God bless the work of your hands. Asanteni sana. Bye-bye to all of you.